Welcome to the video of the basic commissioning of the installation of the APS Mini Plus access control system from TechFOS in the WebHit web application. The WebHit web application is used for setting up, administering, and operating the APS Mini Plus access control system. The great advantage of this online service is that it is operated in the cloud and no advanced IT knowledge is required to operate and use it. The APS Mini Plus access control system is connected to the TechFOS cloud using the contrrol.IP communication converter. To use the WebHit application, as well as other applications on the TechFOS cloud, you must first create a user account under whose identity the user appears on the cloud. The video shows how to create such an account, including verifying the email address. Only a user with the WebHit installer qualification can then create a new WebHit installation. This qualification is assigned to the user by their local distributor. After logging into the cloud, we select the WebHit service. On the home page of the WebHit service, we see a list of installations accessible to us that we can manage. To create a new installation, press the New Installation button. Fill in the name of the installation and optionally add a description. Save, and the installation is created. At this point, a code for activating the trial tariff is sent to our distributor. This tariff is free and valid for 3 months from the creation of the installation. The tariff is activated by entering the code that our local distributor sends us. After receiving the code, go to the Trial tab and select the Input Code for Trial Activation button. Fill in the sent code and press the Activate button. After entering the code, check the entire terms of the WebHit service and agree to them. The tariff is activated and all the options provided by the application are available to us. In order to be able to meaningfully show all the application options in the manual, it is necessary to first set up a connection to the installation to the APS Mini Plus system. Therefore, we will begin with a description of the line configuration page. The APS Mini Plus access control system connects to the cloud using the contrrol.IP connector. First, insert the appropriate connector into the installation. Press the Add button. Enter the connector name. Then fill in the connector serial number. The serial number, as well as the activation key, which we will need in the next step, is listed on the label attached to the connector. We always recommend taking a photo of the label with this information. Now insert the activation key. Then select Save. The connector is saved in our installation. The standard connector settings assume that it is located in a network where it expects to be assigned its own IP address by a DHCP server. If the DHCP server is not available in the installation, it is necessary to set a static IP address for the connector using the Telnet terminal. This action is described in a separate manual. For the purposes of this manual, we assume that the DHCP server is available. Now turn on the connector and connect it to the network. If we have set all the parameters correctly, after a short while the connector will go from the offline state to the online state. This state means that the connector is connected to the cloud. In the next steps, we will gradually connect individual devices to the RS485 communication line and configure their basic settings so that we can make them available in our installation. A device is identified on the RS485 line by a hardware address in the range of 1 to 32. Some devices can occupy multiple consecutive addresses on the line. It is true that each address can only be occupied by one device on the line. If we use multiple devices with the same address, the system will not work correctly. First, we will try to connect the MWGD46 device to the RS485 line. This is a two-address door controller, for which the hardware address is set by setting the address jumpers. By default, the module has addresses 31 and 32 set. If we want to change the addresses, we will set the jumpers as described in the manual for the relevant product. In our case, we will keep the default settings and connect the device to the RS485 line. Now, we can establish communication with the device. We will connect addresses 31 and 32 one by selecting them from the context menu on the relevant addresses. We can see that the addresses started communicating immediately. The green color indicates the online status. Now we will try to connect an address where no device is located, for example, address 30. We can see that the address remains red, offline. Communication with the device at this address cannot be established. We will disconnect address 30 again. Another way to establish communication with the connected device, if the hardware addresses are set correctly, is to survey the communication line. We will select the Explore Line option. The line survey will be performed, and the result will be a display of which addresses on the line are occupied. At this point, we will connect another pair of devices to the line. These are the MRE-M55 and MRE-M82 readers. Both readers have a factory set hardware address of 1. This is the address set for all devices where the address is not set with jumpers, but with the help of software. So if we connect both readers to the line, there will be a hardware address conflict at address 1. Let's try to connect this address. We see that the address has turned red. This color indicates a problem with communication on the line. This is caused by the fact that there are two devices with the same hardware address on the line, with which we are trying to communicate. In order to make communication work, we must set the addresses so that they are unique. Let's say that we set the readers to addresses 2 and 3. We will change the address using the method of entering the serial number. For this reason, we recommend taking a photo of the reader labels with this information, or entering the serial numbers into the installation plan. Press the Set Address with SN button. Select address 2 and enter the serial number of one of the readers. Then press the Commit button. After performing the action, the address has been reset to the reader, and the reader has started communicating at the appropriate address without any problems. Then, we set address 3 to the other reader. We enter its serial number, then press the Commit button. The second reader has received address 3. We close the dialog, and looking at the communication line, we see that we have 4 addresses occupied on the line. All addresses are unique. We select the communication line survey again to check if we have any other forgotten devices on the line. Now we would like to have all 4 discovered addresses added as new devices to the installation. So, we leave the Devices Will Be Added option selected and select Commit. The relevant devices are automatically inserted into the device list, and the default configuration is loaded. The last thing we will do at this point is to rename these devices so that we can familiarize ourselves with the installation. So now we have inserted a connector in the installation on whose communication line 4 addresses are connected, and the devices that represent them are meaningfully named. On the General page, on the Overview tab, we can see all the summary information about the application. Installation status, access model version, installation creation date, owner, active tariff, tariff expiry date, and number of remaining days, remaining event credit, selected period for storing events and date of the last event in the archive. We can also see tariff information, number of assigned IDs. An assigned ID is considered to be an ID that is assigned to a user who is not blocked. The number of accounts with assigned control is also shown. That is, user accounts that are set to be able to visualize or remotely control at least one device in the installation. The number of control rights is then the sum of the previous two numbers. The control rights limit indicates the maximum number of control rights for the currently used tariff. The trial tariff is not limited in this regard. We also see an overview table of the installation. The number of control accounts, access groups, users, IDs, connectors, devices, schedules, and holidays. On the Settings tab, we can change the basic properties of the installation. Installation name, installation description. Standard tariffs allow you to choose to keep the log of operating events for 3 or 12 months. If for some reason this interval needs to be shortened, this can be done by setting the Use Custom Interval for Keeping Logs option and setting the appropriate number of days. We can also change the installation time zone if necessary. We can also change the icon of our installation, or we can also upload our own image. This setting affects how the installation is displayed in the list of available installations on the installation selection page. The Roles tab allows us to set user account roles for accessing the WebHit installation. Access to the WebHit installation is determined based on the role assigned to the respective user account. The account that created the installation is the owner of the installation. Additional users can be invited by pressing the Invite User button. There can be only one owner in the installation. If we invite a second user with the owner role, then after the invited user accepts the role, the ownership of the original user is removed. A user account with the manager role can perform operations related to application management in terms of access permissions and operation. A user account with the installer role has access to tools for working with devices on the RS-485 communication line. Only a user account with the WebHit installer qualification can be invited to this role. A user account with the receptionist role can only manage users and assign access groups. A user account with the user role has no permissions. It is only allowed to perform the remote door opening action for resources previously made available to it by the owner or administrator. A user account with the supervisor role is a role derived from the manager role with certain restrictions. For a supervisor, it is necessary to specify exactly the set of resources to which he has access. The supervisor can be assigned a folder of users, IDs, and access groups with which he can work, while the rest of the installation is inaccessible to him. User account roles can be combined. So for example, a user account with the manager and installer roles can be used. The Control Rights tab is used to enable remote control and visualization of selected devices for selected user accounts. Select the user account that we will set up. To add a resource to control, select the New button. Set a name. Select the device to which the resource should apply. Next, select the type of input visualization. You can choose from door, bar, shutter, garage, bars, or you can select not to visualize the input status. Next, we select the display logic, whether the symbol should be displayed in the closed state in the standard logic or the opposite. For the output visualization, we again have a number of options available: lock, fan, symbol A, beacon, sliders, heating, light bulb, or we can select not to visualize the output state. The logic of displaying the output state can be reversed. The last option determines whether the user will be able to trigger the remote lock release function for the relevant device. Save the settings. Let's now briefly look at the control page. We see that the specified device is shown here, and we have the option to control it by pressing the Open Door button. Let's return to the control settings. Once we have all the devices set up the way we want, we can copy the settings and paste them to other users. So, we select the source account and the copy button, then select the target account and the paste button. We confirm the choice in the dialog. The target account now contains the same control and visualization resources as the source account. On the Import-Export tab, you can export all WebHit installation data to the data file of the APS Height desktop offline application. The opposite action is also available, i.e. importing the APS-HIT application file to the WebHit cloud installation. A more detailed description of these actions is not the subject of this manual. On the control page, we see a list of all resources that we have set up for visualization. The visualization settings are made on the General page on the Control Rights tab. Each resource has a name. The communication status is also displayed, and if the resource is online, the input and output status is displayed according to the graphic settings. After clicking on the Open Door Control button, if enabled, the lock is released, similar to when a valid ID is read on the reader. On the Devices page, we see a list of all defined devices. Each device represents the connected address on the RS485 line of the selected connector. Each device can be configured in either basic or advanced mode. By default, all devices are in basic mode. If we want to change the basic parameters of the device, we select the Edit button for the relevant device. In the dialog, we can change the device name. We see the device type, serial number, firmware version, maximum number of IDs that can be uploaded to the device, and licenses. The hardware address parameter tells us which hardware address of the RS485 line the device is located on. Do not change this parameter unless you really need to move the device to a different address. The events type determines which text descriptions will be used to describe device events in the event archive. The door control itself then offers the following parameters in the basic configuration. Lock release determines the maximum lock release time after a valid identification. The parameter is in seconds. We also set whether this status will be signaled by a beeper or an LED while the lock is released. Lock logic determines the polarity of the lock output. We can switch it to the reverse function, then the polarity is opposite. Second input function determines the purpose for which the second input of the device is used. The function can be either none, or this input can function as a request to exit button. The ID authentication method can be set as standard, or authentication can be performed in the con110.ip connector. This setting can overcome the limit of the device's own memory. The device must be equipped with an MLO license for this function. After saving the configuration, the data is immediately sent to the device. The page also offers the options: delete the device, add the device, force data transfer from the cloud to all devices on the line of the given connector, or force data transfer to the selected device. Forcing data upload should never be necessary during standard use of the system. Data is always transferred to the system automatically. On the Folders page, we find a single-level structure of folders in which users are stored. This is an organizational structure that does not affect the user rights settings themselves. We add a new folder by pressing the New Folder button. We specify a name and save the folder. We can edit the name of the folder. We can delete an empty folder by pressing the Delete button. If we want, we can display the users of the given folder by pressing the View Users button. the application will go to the page with users with the filter set for the given folder. The ID page displays a list of all IDs that are defined in the installation. There are several ways to insert new IDs into the installation. A convenient way is to use the REM191.USB desktop reader. This reader works by writing the read IDs to the keyboard buffer. The code will therefore appear where the keyboard cursor is, so we will add one ID in this way. A convenient way is to use the REM191.USB desktop reader. This reader works by writing the presented IDs to the keyboard buffer. The code will therefore appear where the keyboard cursor is, so we will add one ID in this way. Select New ID. Enter the ID designation as the name and description. The card or key fob usually has a numerical designation. Select the ID type. We recommend always setting this property correctly. It significantly contributes to the clarity of the entire installation. Place the cursor in the code field and read the ID on the connected REM191.USB reader. The code is filled in the appropriate field. We will not set the ID alarm flag. We will save the ID. If we do not have a desktop reader available to read the ID, we can perform the entire action by reading the ID on the device in the installation. Read the ID on a reader and go to the archive of operational events. For the relevant unknown ID event, select Action and Create ID. Fill in the name and description, select the ID type, and save the new ID. Another common type of ID is a keypad code. This can be created easily. We fill in the name, select the correct ID type, and write the appropriate code in the code field. The code length must be at least 4 characters. Use combination of these methods to insert all IDs that we will need into the installation. On the ID page, we can then work with these IDs. IDs can be edited, deleted, or create a user who will have the given ID in their possession. It is also possible to filter IDs on the page. Open the search panel by clicking on the Toggle Search field. The filter menu will open. We can filter directly by ID, by part of the name, description, or code, by the type of ID or its holder. Filter parameters can also be combined. With the filtered result, bulk actions can then be performed by pressing the Search and Set en masse button. The available bulk actions are Release IDs, Create User, and Assign ID. Here it is also necessary to select the folder in which the users will be saved, or Delete IDs. Search mode can be cancelled by clicking the Cancel Search button. On the Time Schedules page, we can define time schedules that can be used to define the time window for user access to the device or to control the device. To create a time schedule, we select the New button. We set the name of the schedule. In our case, we will want the schedule to be valid for all weekdays from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we will set this value for Monday and copy it to the other days. Then we save the schedule by pressing the Save button. The selected time schedule is selected in the top menu. The name of the time schedule can also be edited, or the schedule can be deleted. One of the schedule interval sets is reserved for holidays. Days that are considered holidays in the installation are defined on the Holidays page. The Holidays page displays a list of holidays that are defined in the installation. To add a new holiday, select the New Holiday button. Name the holiday and set the month and day on which it will take place. The day defined in this way is then considered a holiday. When the defined holiday date occurs, the holiday intervals are applied to the schedule. Holidays can be edited or deleted on the page by pressing the appropriate buttons. The Access Groups page displays a list of all access groups that are defined in the installation. An access group determines the level of access of group members to individual devices. To create a group, select the New Group button, fill in the name and, if necessary, description. Then, set the access level for individual devices. We always have the choice of granting access permanently, set access according to a defined time schedule, or denying access. Once we have defined the accesses, we save the group settings. We create another group in a similar way. If we want to transfer the permission level settings from one group to another, we select Copy and Paste and confirm the selection. Let's define all the necessary groups. Groups can be deleted, and with the appropriate button, you can display the list of group members on the user's page using the View Users button, or a regular list of usernames by pressing the List button. The Users page displays a list of all users defined in the installation. To create a new user, select the New User option. The first option in the displayed dialog is to allow or disable the user. A disabled user is not uploaded to the system, just as their ID or access permissions to the device are not uploaded. Fill in the family name and first name. Optionally, you can also fill in the Note field. If we would use combined access in the Card plus PIN mode in the installation, then fill in the PIN field. If we do not use this mode in the installation, you can leave the field empty. Select the folder to which the user will be assigned. Save the user. We can easily edit or delete the created users by pressing the appropriate buttons. Another important action is assigning an ID to the user. For this action, we select the ID assignment button. A list of all currently assigned IDs is displayed on the new page. To assign another ID, select Assign ID. In the dialog, we can filter the list of offered IDs by setting the ID type. So, we select the desired ID and select Save. The ID is assigned to the user. The ID can be removed from the user by pressing the Release button. Any number of IDs can be assigned to the user. Once all the desired IDs are assigned to the user, we return to the list of users by pressing the Back button. Now we can proceed to assigning access groups, so we press the appropriate button. A new page displays a list of access groups assigned to the user. To assign another group, we select the Add Group button. In the displayed dialog, we select the desired group. We can also set a time limit for assigning this group. We enable the start of the assignment and select the appropriate time. We can also enable the end of the assignment and set the appropriate time. If we want the group to be assigned permanently, we disable the From and To options. Now let's save the assignment. The assigned group can be removed from the user by pressing the Delete button. The assignment can be modified by pressing the Change button. Any number of access groups can be assigned to a user. The resulting user permission is given by the logical sum of accesses to individual devices. We return to the user list by pressing the Back button. If we want to display the current list of user permission levels for individual devices, we select the Privileges Map option. The displayed map shows the user's options for accessing all defined devices at the moment the request is entered. We close the dialog by pressing the OK button. It is also possible to filter users on the page. We open the search panel by clicking the toggle search field. The filter menu opens. We can filter directly by user, by part of family name, first name, or note, by assigned access group, or by the folder in which the user is located. Filter parameters can also be combined. With the filtered result, you can then perform bulk actions by pressing the Search and Set en masse button. Bulk actions available are: Assign Access Group. Here we select the access group and the start and end of the assignment validity. Release access groups, enable users, disable users, release IDs, delete users, or insert into folder. Here we select the folder where the users will be put. Search mode can be canceled by clicking the Cancel Search button. The Events page lists the system's operational events. The event list consists of events of connected devices, connectors, and actions that a user performs on the website. Events are sorted by time, from newest to oldest. Depending on the set event archive capacity, 3 or 12 months, events older than this limit are automatically deleted. Events contain information about when and what happened in the system, who caused the event, and possibly other details. In the context menu of the event, for events of the appropriate type, i.e., events related to an ID or user, it is possible to go to the relevant ID or user on the relevant page. It is also possible to filter events on the page. Open the filtering panel by clicking on the Toggle Filter field. The filter menu will open. You can filter by user, device, connector, schedule, holiday, part, or all of the ID code, event type, device hardware address, key code, ID, access group, folder, or operator. You can also set a time limit in the From and To fields. Filter parameters can also be combined. The filter mode can be canceled by clicking the Cancel Filter button. The Significant Events page lists significant system operational events. The page and its options are very similar to the Events page, but the selection of events is limited to events related to user traffic and control of individual devices. The Tariff page is used to order a standard tariff for the operation of the WebHit service. Ordering a tariff will extend the validity period by another year. On the Overview tab, we can see the current installation status and validity period. If we want to order a tariff for the next period, we go to the New Demand tab. We select Add Tariff for next season. We select the tariff that we want to use for the next season. The tariff limits the number of control options that can be set within the installation. The information on the maximum number of events is indicative. In actual operation, it is practically impossible to exhaust the number of events. Another option is the capacity of the event archive. You can choose between a capacity of 3 or 12 months. All older events are automatically deleted from the installation. Next, we can add the demand identifier and select Proceed. We review the terms of the WebHit service and agree to the terms. The request is sent to our local distributor. The distributor is notified of our request and then arranges the offer, order, and payment for the new tariff with us. Then they approve the new tariff and send us the activation code. Once we receive it, we can activate the tariff. We press the Activate button and enter the received code, then press the Activate button again. We review the terms of the WebHit service again and agree to the terms. The tariff is activated. On the Overview tab, we see how the values have changed. The Upgrades page is reserved for updating the CON 110.IP connector software. If a newer version of any software is available, the upgrade option is displayed in the Options column. Updating the connector software can take up several minutes, depending on the extent of the update. During the update of some parts, the connector will be disconnected from connected devices and the internet, and commands, such as remote door opening commands, cannot be sent to it during this time. The connector may also restart during the update. The access control system will run in standalone mode during that time. After the updates are complete, the connector will reconnect to the RS485 line and the cloud and will resume its normal operation.